Villainous Heroics by I Believe in Happily Ever After on AO3. Chapter 6. Oh, come on, Eraser. The kids in the booth back there are really fine. One of them is in high school and the other is in college. They're probably catching up on some lost sleep. I'm starting to doubt that you understand when I tell you that it is my job to stop you from doing things like this. The familiar capture weapon snagged out and around his wrist, pulling him forward sharply. Hizashi slid across the floor, with a swear before he was catching himself, with one boot on the station desk, wrapping the cloth around his hands a few times for a better grip, and then jerking back with as much strength as he could in a quick succession. There was a split second of surprise, where Aizawa stumbled and Hizashi didn't hesitate to use that chance to grab more of the scarf and give in another jerk, forcing the man to slide forwards on the tiled floor himself. As soon as he was close enough, Hizashi kicked out of the chair he had been sitting in and sent it right into an unbalanced Aizawa, letting go of the scarf at the same time to ensure the chair sent him falling to the ground. The second he heard the crash, Hizashi let himself give a laugh. At least Hizashi wasn't the only one slightly off his game tonight. He usually tried to give Aizawa his full attention when they were fighting, but that last question he had answered on the radio had shaken him up more than he would have thought. When you tell a child that they have a dangerous quirk, what happens to them? Come on, Eraser, let the kid sleep. Besides, now they have an excuse for why their homework won't be done. Really? Hisashi thought he was being nice and giving those kids some much-needed time to sleep and relax. They obviously needed it if their song choices were as bad as he'd seen. How often do you tie up kids and take over their equipment, then? Aizawa, Hisashi sometimes forgot, was a pro hero with many years of experience. He quickly remembered, however, when he suddenly found himself on the floor with a sore head, no idea how he got there. You know, you'd probably only get one night in jail this time, seeing as no one filed a report about this. Then why are you here? Hisashi groaned, pushing himself up and rubbing at the back of his head as he looked to Aizawa, the man giving him a smirk as he stood up himself. It's my job to stop villains, remember? Right, villains. Because Hisashi was a villain. That was all he could be. When you force that child to never use that quirk that is called dangerous and a villain's quirk, come on, hero. Can't you drop the act and you could finally admit how much you really love me? Hisashi grinned, raising his hands peacefully at the glare he received. The game continues then. Your game of heroes and villains? Ah, Aizawa would have heard that. Wouldn't he have? He probably entered the building since at least the last question. There's other ways to fight against the system, Mike. No, there really isn't. Hisashi kept his smile through sheer force of will, taking another step back. Really, Eraser, some days I wish it was another pro hero that showed up. Then again, I wouldn't have found my true love if that was the case. You're so nosy, Aizawa murmured, shooting his scarf out again. It was a warm-up attack more than anything, something that Hisashi could have easily been able to dodge. He did in a way, at least, but he was pretty sure that neither of them had planned for him to trip over a bunch of wires and hit the floor. Feeling clumsy tonight, Mike? I guess I'm just falling over myself for you, darling. Mike shot back, groaning a bit before he was leaping up to dodge the next attack. Sorry, hero, but I don't have the luxury of being late for work again. Running to the door and slamming it shut to buy himself at least a few seconds, Hisashi was halfway down the hallway before he realized his headphones were missing. He then swore. He felt his heart stop as cold air rushed past exposed ears. What happens to that child? Hearing the footsteps chasing after him, Hisashi yelled a few different exploitatives in at least 3 languages because now it seemed he was going to have to buy new noise-canceling headphones. There was no way he could go back for the ones he had dropped. Kicking the door open to the outside, Hisashi stumbled slightly from the momentum. Slightly was all Aizawa needed to repay him for his earlier crash to the floor, it seemed. Hitting the ground, chest first at full speed, with a scarf wrapped around his leg, Hisashi took a moment to make sure he was still alive, and that he hadn't busted his face or chin. He was starting to think he was lucky when he realized he couldn't hear anything. A second passed before it sunk in, and he couldn't hear anything. Scrambling to his feet and grabbing at his ears, Hisashi felt his heart completely drop out of his chest when he realized both of his hearing aids were missing. He usually didn't have to worry when he wore his headphones, keeping them in place and only activating once outside volume reached high decibels. But his headphones had fallen off, so now Hisashi was stuck in the middle of a fight, unable to hear. Hisashi didn't even get a step forward before Aizawa's capture weapon was wrapped around him and pinning his arms to his side. Hisashi quickly found breath picking up speed, as well when he glanced to Aizawa to see his lips were moving, but Hisashi couldn't understand. It had been too long since he had to rely on lip reading, and there was no way he could calm himself down, and he couldn't hear. And why did Aizawa have to talk so quietly? Seeing the man's hands move towards him, Hisashi slammed his eyes shut and tried to relax as he waited for whatever punch was coming. When he felt something brush against his ear, he bit his lip as hard as he could and wondered why Aizawa would go for the ear of all places. Mike. He heard that. Hisashi had heard that. Eyes shooting open, Hisashi looked to Aizawa to see that he was lifting his other hand now, and a moment later, hearing was restored to both ears. Better? Yeah. Hisashi narrowed his eyes, and was completely surprised to see no hint of pity or disgust in Aizawa's face. The man had never seemed the type, but Hisashi had learned to expect the worst, while hoping for the best. You wear hearing aids. That wasn't a question, but Hisashi could hear the surprise, remembering what Aizawa had once said about his quirk not being dangerous. Hisashi couldn't stop a tight-lipped smile. My quirk is more than just loud. Hisashi could see the moment realization hit. Hisashi didn't give him the gift of pretending to play dumb. When you stop a child from using their quirk, and they're finally forced to use it, how are they expect to control it? They aren't, Aizawa said quietly, contemplating expression on his face. Hisashi felt the scarf around him loosen, which, He supposed he really did surprise the man for once. Mike, I told you, my quirk is dangerous. It wasn't boasting. It wasn't pity. It was just fact. I blew my hearing out when I was in middle school, and I've been wearing hearing aids ever since. That's how I know those drug dealers or whoever they were don't know what my quirk really was. They would have tried to use it for themselves, not leave me to myself. What's the deal with that stuff anyways? The scarf lost more tension as Aizawa sighed, hanging his head for a moment. Vigor is a drug that was designed to enhance a person's quirk, but it also weakens their reasoning. It's basically a drug's made to make more villains. Not without side effects, though, Hisashi pointed out, thinking back to when he had been slammed against the wall, when he had kidnapped Aizawa. For a second, he had been so hopeful. There was always the future in his dreams, he supposed. You said the tongue turns black? Yeah, there's different forms of it, and 1 or 2 of them are legal. But that stuff you were given looks to be stronger than what's already out there. Sounds nasty. It sounded bad for people who lived here, too. Hisashi knew what a shithole it was, but with a drug like that floating around, it would only get worse. Are they any leads to who the man was? Even after the description you gave, we didn't find anything. Aizawa sighed, running a hand through his hair, and looked irritated. While Hisashi took a moment to admire how beautiful and annoyed Eraserhead looked in the moonlight, he also tested the tightness of the scarf. It wasn't very tight anymore. Well, at least there's a decent hero on the case, Hisashi teased, delighted in the look Aizawa gave him. Although I am curious about one thing. If there are no reports or anything on me, how did you find out I was broadcasting tonight? And why would I tell you that? Aizawa met his gaze evenly, but Hisashi saw what could have almost been called a blush. It's hard to ignore your loud voice when looking for something to listen to. Aw, baby, did you listen to my show? That was oddly reassuring, and the fact that Aizawa didn't deny it just made Hisashi want to scream into his pillow in glee. Eraserhead really was an amazing hero. Well, thank you for being such a dedicated listener, but I really can't be late for work tomorrow. Darting forward, Hisashi saw Aizawa tense and get ready to react before stopping completely as Hisashi kissed the edge of his jaw, letting his tongue dart out just the barest amount to flick against warm skin. It was amazing when Hisashi heard a dragged out noise from Aizawa that sounded like a swear and a squeak combined. It was officially the most beautiful sound Hisashi has ever heard. Good night, Eraser! With that, Hisashi jerked himself out of the hold of the loosened capture weapon and sprinted away from Aizawa and the radio station as fast as he possibly could, throwing himself down shadowed alleyways and through broken down buildings that he had hidden in when he was younger. It was an effort to not burst out laughing when he knew, with everything in him, that Eraserhead could have caught him in a second, but he hadn't. Really, that had to mean something, right? And Hisashi was finally able to kiss his true love. At least, in a way, he had. It still counted, though. And the fact that he had seen Aizawa blushing and looking caught off guard, it officially made the bad night into a perfect one. The drone of the late night news filled his too quiet apartment, Hisashi distractedly eating a crouton of leftovers and fending off Snowball as he started at the research he had been able to gather after a long shower and computer binge. He had been bouncing ideas off Snowball for the last hour, but so far it seemed like his cat had yet to develop a quirk that allowed him to talk back. It just doesn't add up, Snowball. Picking out a piece of chicken with the chopsticks, Hisashi held it out to the cat that he really did need to put on a diet. Snowball plucked out the chicken carefully, though, before curling up on his lap with purrs loud enough to be mistaken as passing train. Yeah, really though, why would trigger dealers come this far? Hisashi had managed to create a rough timeline of the resulting trigger outbreaks over the last 5 years, and none of them have ever made it down this far south. There were some outlier crop-ups that seemed to have been dealt with by Eraserhead a few years ago. At least it seemed to. It was a little out of his patrol area, but Hisashi liked to think he knew the man's fighting style by now. The problem with him seeing a trigger dealer in this area now is that there hadn't been any outbreaks. Hisashi would have contributed that to the fact that he had given the police and heroes warning, but even he wasn't that hopeful. What do you think, Snowball? Hisashi gave the cat's head a little scratch, staring at the red pins that he had put in an old map. What could they be doing here? Recruiting, maybe? Aizawa had said the drug was stronger than what he had seen before, though, so if someone had taken it, they would have noticed. Maybe they were just after Hisashi, though. If so, that was something he didn't like the sound of too much. This is so stressful. Hisashi finally sighed, kicking his feet up and looking to the news to see it was reporting about an underground hero who had taken down an entire gang just last week. Ah, Snowball, don't we just have the most amazing hero watching over us here? Snowball meowed loud enough to rival Hisashi and his quirk, staring up at him with sweet baby blue eyes. Huffing after a moment, Hisashi dug out the final piece of chicken and held it out, not managing to get all that upset. You're lucky I pity you, you know? I could have left you in that gutter, and then this would have been the end of that. No cat eating me out of my house and home. Snowball stared at him before nuzzling against his side. You know me too well, Snowball. The answering meow almost drowned out the sound of his phone ringing, but Hisashi wasn't the voice villain for nothing. Almost falling off the couch, Hisashi managed to snag the phone, frowning at the halfway familiar number. Hello? There was a moment of silence that followed that made Hisashi frown and wonder if he had just missed the person. Ah, present Mike. It truly is a pleasure to talk to you again. I take it you haven't had a chance to try that product I gave you? The voice was already half forgotten, but there was no mistaking that neutral politeness. Oi, oi! Who gave you this number? Don't you know it's rude to call this late without warning? Hisashi sealed his voice, doing his best to not let it shake. And how do I know that product of yours isn't something bad? I don't even know who you are, man. Oh, you will soon enough. I do apologize for the impromptu call, but I was led to believe you kept late hours. He didn't like this. Hisashi didn't like this one bit. I have to say, it's rather impressive how you managed to keep up with a hero such as Eraserhead. His cautiousness turned to rage, and Hisashi nearly said something stupid before he managed to throw his voice into something that was a mask of a villain persona. Of course, you're talking to the villain hero, you know? I have no problem keeping up with the likes of an underground hero. That's good to hear, Present Mike. They hadn't used his real name yet, but it was possible they knew it anyway. They had his number, after all, but Hisashi didn't know how they would have connected the two. A quirk, maybe? There was a quirk for everything these days, it felt like. You should try our product soon. I think the results will be to your liking. I don't know. I'm not really one for performance enhancers, if you know what I mean. There was a polite laugh over the phone that had a few shivers slipping down his spine. Well, nonetheless, we'll contact you again soon, Present Mike. We have an offer that I think you might take a particular liking to, if your agenda truly is to shake the system of heroes and villains. The call disconnected with a click, and Hisashi threw his phone to the other end of the couch, glaring at it with all his might. He could handle these people knowing him when he was Present Mike, but if they knew he was Hisashi Yamada, then how easy would it be for other people to know? Well, Snowball, it looks like this just got a lot more dangerous. Hisashi looked down to Snowball, giving a little grin when the cat hissed at the phone. Yeah, but it makes you wonder what else they know about us. An offer that would help shake the system of heroes and villains, huh? Well, they succeeded in getting his attention. Deaf Hisashi. I love how, as a fandom, we all collectively went, yeah, he's deaf. That's canon. We don't care what the creator, Hitoshi, says. He's canonically deaf. You cannot change our mind. It has been voted on. The council has all agreed. He is deaf. I love that, and it's a personal headcanon of mine. I also headcanon it. It's canon. Period. Proof? I don't need proof. Look at the fandom. Okay, can we talk about the quote-unquote kiss? I really want to see, not Hisashi's, Aizawa's point of view, either of the kiss happening or, like, afterwards him thinking about it or whatever, because, like, I want to see that. the tongue though, like, Hizashi, did you really have to take out your tongue a little bit? Really? And the jaw? My dude, that is gay. That is gay. Do it again. I'm recording. This happens a lot. They just walk in. They just walk in. I just have to turn, I'm recording, and then they go. And my family's all aware of my channel. I don't know if one of you is watching. Hi, if one of you is watching, why are you watching chapter 6 and not chapter 1? And if you have been watching since chapter 1, what are you doing? I know for a fact you're not in this fandom, right? The only one who would get this far are the ones who know English. And the ones who know English, I know for a fact, y'all don't like this. Well, actually, for all I know, you guys could be secretly fans. If you're secretly fans, I don't know, text me, tell me, we could talk. Season 7 trailer came out. I need to have someone to talk to about it. My only friend who's kind of into My Hero Academia is only into My Hero Academia fanfics. Thanks to me, I think. No, it's actually thanks to Kat, I believe. Yeah. No, okay, so it's thanks to me, because I kept talking about Podfics. So then they started watching Podfics. I don't know, was it that, or was it just the fact that I mentioned Podfics and they mentioned that they were gonna start? Something happened there. Whatever it is, they're into Podfics, but they're not, I don't think they're into the fandom anymore. Well, I mean, they're in the fandom, because, you know, this, but they're not into the main show and whatever, so. Family out there, if you like My Hero Academia, hit me up. Go to my phone number. Text me, please. I'm lonely. And fans who are in my Discord, if you guys want to talk about My Hero Academia main in the chat, just as long as you do the little spoiler thingies, we can chat. Hell, like, I would love to. I have barely any friends who share my very big special interest of, you know, My Hero Academia. Or foxes. I really love foxes. Foxes are adorable. I'm getting out of track. Let me go back to the notes. So that kiss was amazing. That's wonderful. Hizashi, do it again. That was gay. I have a little prediction. The people running the trigger and contacting Hizashi is maybe Overhaul. Overhaul's organization, you know? What are they called? The something Chukasai? I don't know. Somebody in the comments, please tell it. Correct me, people in the comments. By the way, if you guys ever see me like stutter or anything like that, or I'm mispronouncing a name or something like that, you guys could go ahead and put in the comments. I do not find that insulting or anything like that. I know some people find it insulting. Personally, I don't find it insulting. I don't know, I have a problem with reading. I love reading, but like some words, I'd be reading it wrong. I don't know. I would like to blame the whole fact that English isn't my first language, but that's not even an issue at this point. I can't even read in my language. Nah, the issue isn't the fact that English isn't my first language. The issue is reading. The issue are my eyes. And then as for me pronouncing things wrong, the issue is my lisp. And I cannot blame that on the fact that English isn't my first language again, because I also have a lisp in my native language, which is Spanish. Spanish? I said that weird. It's a bit worse in Spanish, I guess. I don't know. I notice it more in Spanish because people point it out more in Spanish. But ever since I started doing these recordings or whatever, sometimes I go back and listen to them and I'm like, hold up. That's my lisp thing out there. You mean to tell me that I've always been pronouncing that word wrongly and nobody has corrected me? Like comfortable? Nobody has corrected me saying comfortable. It wasn't until one person corrected me, and now I can't say comfortable. Whatever. Point again is, I have a lisp. So, you guys could go ahead and correct me in the comments. God. Okay. I don't know what's happening to me. It's not normally this bad. What the hell? But you guys could go ahead and correct me in the comments. I don't find it, you know, like, what's it called? Insulting. I know some people find it insulting. I'm not that person. I don't find it insulting. But yeah, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Join our community Discord server, link is in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.